Hello guys, welcome to our channel. This is Ijaz Mughal and here I am with Peter Maller. So me and Peter, we are both qualified driving teacher and we are teaching the ministry program, which is a beginner driver education program, for so many years, and we have taught thousands of students here. And on the request of our students, we have made already a couple of videos for you guys, and thank you so much for liking and subscribing our videos. And on the request of our students, here we are again, and we are making more videos for you guys, so please like and subscribe our channel. And today we are going to make a couple of videos, and here I am with Peter, and Peter is going to explain you what videos that we are going to make for you today, guys. So I'm just going to pass it on to Peter Maller.
Thanks, Ijaz, and well, I look forward to being with you throughout the series. I've done a lot of racing, and I'm going to show you from time to time some of the tricks we use on the racetrack that you can use on the road to get out of sticky situations. I really look forward to doing that. First thing we're going to look at is KYC. Now, that's not a new chicken brand. What it is, it stands for Know Your Car. Because if you know the controls of your car, and they're different from different cars, if you know the controls of your car, then in an emergency particularly, you can react a lot faster. But for your driving test, if you don't know how to use the controls in the car, you probably will fail. So we'll have a look at some different cars and some of the things you need to know right at the start.
Okay guys, as Peter already mentioned, that today's video is going to be about Know Your Car, which is KYC, or know the control of your car, which is very important, and of course we will explain you that. So what we did today for you guys, we choose two different cars, as you guys can see. So we will explain you about the controls of your car, so you guys know in different emergency situation what we're going to do. So I'm going to pass it on to Peter, because Peter is going to explain you first, and then we can move on to the next car. Okay?
Right, let's have a look at how we do this with, in this case, a VW Golf and the similar kinds of cars. Let's have a look. Now, some cars like this one, you use a key to start it. So you put the key in the ignition, foot on the brake, and crank it over. With some cars, you press a button once you've turned the ignition on, but with this one, it's a one action all the way through there. Now, once it's on, let's have a look at what we have to do to get into gear. Now, if you look at the transmission here, P is park, and obviously when you park, you put the car into park, everything is locked up there, the car will not move. The R is reverse, and when you want to go backwards, that's what you do. And you can see the display screen here, which a lot of cars have, shows you what is behind. Now, that's no excuse not to actually look around. It's really important to do that. Don't rely on that, because it's not a true and accurate picture. So it's very important not to trust that totally, but it's a good guide. Now, the N is neutral, and that means the wheels are totally disconnected from the engine, and the car, actually, if you release the brakes, will roll forward. Now, for starting off, we go into D for drive, and we've got two modes. We've got D and we've got S. S is sport mode, and that will give the car just a little bit more pep in each gear. But for normal driving, you would stay in the D position. And with the older cars, you can actually manually on an automatic select lower gears. It will say 2 and then 1, but with a more modern car like this, you can move the transmission over in the direction of the right here, and you will actually be able to select whatever gear you want, first, second, third, fourth. But normally you would just leave it in the D position. Now, as far as the brake's concerned, we've got the foot brake, but we've also got the parking brake. Some cars have this system, the parking brake. You find the more sporty cars have this system. And to release it, what you do is you pull the lever up a little bit, pressing the little button in, and then keeping your foot on the button, or your finger on the button as you go down. To pull it on, you just need to pull it up till you hear the crank. So the release here, some people find it a little difficult to get down. You've got to press the button in and pull it up slightly, and that way you've released the brake. So let's have a look at some of the other controls here. Now, often it is on the screen. This one, you do it manually. If you have a look, for example, you've got your air conditioning, heating control here, and you can decide how much air you need going through. And over here, you can select where the vents that you want. In this case, you can see a little arrow here pointing at my face, so the air is going to come in at my face here, so whether it's hot or cold. And on top of here, you've got, for example, the little control here showing you it's the defogger for the rear window, and you've got seat heaters across here. They just have to be punched in manually here. And your media controls right here. That is pretty standard with most cars. Now, if we have a look at... Now, different cars have different ways of turning the lights on. A lot of it is on a stalk here, but here it's not. You can see the lights are not on. First turn is parking brakes, and then your full lighting system here. And if you go across to the stalk here, you can select high beam. Now, high beam, there's a little blue light which will come up on your instrument panel to tell you you're on high beam. Very important to monitor that, because you don't want to drive around thinking that you're not on high beam when you are, and blind the other vehicles. And the next thing we need to look at is your signal controls. Now, what it is in terms of a signal, you've got a right and left system, and for the left goes down, and turning right it just goes up. Want to remember that? Think of right up. It's the best way to think of that. And then the neutral position when it's not on there. Now, over here you have your windshield controls, your wiper controls here. It's important to know how to operate this too, because different cars have different systems. And I had a student who failed her test. She went for her test in her husband's car, which she'd driven quite often, but never in the rain. She'd driven with me in the driving school car in the rain. She knew how to operate the windshield wiper system there, but it was a different system on her husband's car. It started to rain halfway through the test. She didn't know how to turn it on. The examiner had to turn the windshield wipers on. And when they got back to the test center, the examiner said, well, you failed. And he actually was quite apologetic. He said, I'm sorry to do this because you actually drive quite nicely, but I refuse to pass anybody who does not know the controls of their car. So it's pretty important to pass your test that you know how to do all this kind of stuff. Now, the position of your hands on the steering wheel. There are two ways of doing this, 9 and 3 or 10 and 2. Now, it doesn't really matter which one you do. Often it's going to be dictated by the manufacturer of the steering wheel, the molding on the steering wheel. But what they don't want to see is anything down at the bottom part of the wheel like this, 9 and 3 or 10 and 2. So I just keep repeating how important this is to know the different controls of the car. And of course, if you look at the rear view mirror here, so many people don't understand this, and the technology's been around forever. To set it correctly, you press this little gizmo here and line the mirror up so you can see everything out the back window. And at night, all you have to do is push it forward. You get reflected light, and that's much more comfortable. You can still see what's going on. A lot of people don't know that. They flick it like that and think at night, well, I can't see anything, and then they'll go and crank it back to the day positions. They haven't achieved anything. So this way, it's your day position. At night, you just flick it forward like that. Now let's look at some of the controls. And whatever car you use for your test, you need to know exactly how to operate them. It gives the examiner a lot more confidence, and also in an emergency, you haven't got time to figure out, which way, what do I do? For example, the hazard lights. Very importantly, if you have to use those, here they are, right there. It's very important to know exactly where they are in whatever car it is that you drive. So knowing your car, KYC, is very, very important. And that's right at the start of the test, before you've even